All right, good morning, everybody. We're streaming live from the Digital Media Institute in Shreveport, Louisiana. Um, my name is Greg Nelson. I'm the instructor here, and we are small visual effects and animation school. If you want to know more information about us, we're at dmi.edu, and we also have online programs that we do, which are at tolearn.dmi.edu. So feel free to check that out. We're just going to be talking about, you guys are with my class, so we're going to be talking about the visual effects on the movie The Creator, which that movie, all right, that movie did a lot, and it was one of those ones that was nominated for Best Visual Effects for this year. It lost out to Godzilla minus one, but there is so much in this movie to talk about that I want to go through it and just kind of stop. This is the Industrial Light and Magic kind of demo reel for the work that they did on it. And the director, Gareth Edwards, is a guy that you would have heard of. He directed Rogue One. He also directed one of the previous Godzilla movies. And so this one is probably, I think, some of his best work. He's a visual effects guy, like all of us, came up through the ranks that way, and so really does understand the process of doing a visual effects. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go through. We're going to start playing this back here, and I'm going to go through. We're just going to stop and talk. ILM has done a really good job in terms of kind of showing their breakdowns on certain things, so you guys can see exactly what what they did. And if you've got questions, just feel free to stop if you want to see something again, because I'm going to be stopping it along the way and just pointing out certain things. So we're going to get started here. Now, can you guys hear it?
Yes, Mr. Greg.
All right, not that the audio is really that important, but um, it's just music. But now, I will just point out and just say that, like, if you're going to do a demo reel, and this is the way you do it, and obviously they've got great work that they're using, but just the way the layers are brought in here, and I often talk about, like, you're going to set up a wipe, you'll show your background, then you'll show different layers on your 3D elements and things like that, and then wipe in the final version. So. Um, So in that, you're seeing probably about 7 to 10 different layers. So obviously background, different cloud layers that are being added, probably all generated um, in a program. Either that or they were matte painted, but they don't really look like they were painted. Now, a lot of what you see in there is 3D tracked, and then everything is you take that the camera tracking and you're able to take that into Maya or into Unreal in our case, and then the camera will move exactly as the camera did in real life, and then as you add stuff in and render it out, it should track in there correctly. So um, they've done a lot of great work with that. um, this is a really impressive piece of work here.
No kidding.
Yeah, I like this one, and this is one of those ones that I kind of talk about a little bit, just in that like when you show off your 3D stuff, um, it's always nice, and you're seeing all the polygons in it and the way they've got this all broken down. But it really gives people that are going to hire you a great look at what you've done, because sometimes it looks so realistic that they can't really tell, and so it just gives them that opportunity to kind of see what is digital and what's not, and then they can see it, as wireframe essentially, and then with textures on, and then in the final render, because there's a lot going on in the shot. And this is actually a really interesting shot just in terms of the fact that like first off, if you go back, it's kind of a cleanup. Um, and when I say that, basically they've got stuff. This is the final shot, I believe, and then this is the original. And so they remove a lot of stuff, add signage. They do work on the cars to make them feel more futuristic. They're doing just additions to certain things, and this is a pretty straightforward shot, just in terms of the fact the camera's not doing too much moving here. So, but you can see since the camera's locked off, there's such great opportunity here to just take 3D rendered elements and just drop them into place. And this is some of my favorite stuff that they did. And look at everything they got built into the shot. So that, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you guys this again, because every single layer that's going on here was like literally like a still image, or a set of footage that's running, but it's individual layers of things that are stacked in terms of distance from the camera, right? And then even the foreground here is, probably shot over a green screen, I would imagine. And so let's watch that again, because that's impressive stuff. So this is the final shot. So that's layers of rock. That's lots of layers of dust and fog and things like that are being dropped into place over each one of those layers. And you can see as we get farther from the camera, it all falls into a kind of a hazy atmosphere. And they've done a great job of making that feel like it's all really well integrated. And I really like that they put all of this stuff essentially over the top of the van that was there originally.
Oh, heck yeah, that looks awesome.
This is a great shot, an absolutely fantastic shot. Look at all the additions that are built into this thing. So so this is all based on on a van that they had. And I don't know, and this is one of those interesting questions that I would love to ask the director. If they were just using this van, because it looks like it's painted, to look as if it's a, part of the movie. And I don't know if they just came back and decided, you know what, this Mercedes transport van just isn't going to cut it for us. We need to beef it up and upgrade it. So, they used the movement of the van as, basically the basis for the vehicle that they put over the top of it. So they were able to track all of that, and so it starts coming towards the camera here. And it looks like they painted it out actually, but they used the movement of it as a means of cueing exactly the movement of this truck. So you can see all of the different layers that are put in here. And I want to point this out. This is, if the truck was there, right? They had to get rid of it. So it was all there. They added in all this stuff, and then they also had to paint in the road where the truck was, and they painted in shadow and stuff like that. right, for the new vehicle. And essentially all that is they've got it tracked, and either they're generating, you can use generative AI to create a fill in for a certain section of it, or they had an artist that went through and painted it, and this is how I would have shot it if I were on set. I would have made sure that we had a nice shot down the road with nothing on it, and that makes it so much easier to just take a little patch right here and then lock it in. So, but really, really well done. And again, you guys, this is the way you set up a demo reel. Particularly like they've got this thing and it's rendered in an ambient occlusion, and then they bring it in to final color, final reflections, things of that nature. So
I like the dust effects like that as it goes up by, like,
absolutely. And those are all generated, in the computer. But they really add to just the feel that it's a dry road, and it makes it feel like it's part of the environment. And that's one of the things that we run into so often when we're doing visual effects work. And I talk about this a lot, is that the computer tries to make things look too perfect. And so often it's our job to go through and beat things up to make them look like they live in the real world. I mean, to that point, if you look at just the way that the geometry is shaped for this, there's dings and impressions here and there. You can see how this police van has absolutely seen some duty, and that's how it should look, because if it looks too perfect, then it just feels like it's computer generated, and that's one of the things that they've done a great job of on this. Um,
Or it could be new right off the conveyor belt.
yeah, I mean, when you're world building for things, that one of the things that you really want to do is think a lot about how what do these things go through on a daily basis as part of their lifespan in this universe that you're building. That was the same thing that they did with Star Wars initially when they were doing like X-Wings and TIE fighters and all that stuff. They really dirtied them up a lot because they were in heavy use. They were out fighting, every day, and and George Lucas really took the time to base a lot of that on World War II footage, because none of the fighter planes from World War II looked pristine at all. They were heavily abused, right? Being shot at and whatnot. So that's kind of the same thinking that goes along with beating up your geometry, so it feels like it lives in an environment, and they've done a phenomenal job here of doing that. So
If I'm not mistaken, isn't the creator something of like a Star Wars type of thing, or is it something else entirely?
it's its own universe, but it's really about and it's hard to describe like really what the creator is. It is a person, but it's just kind of the overall story is kind of like, AI robots are involved in everyday life, and things like that. And so it's not connected to Star Wars, but the director has directed a Star Wars movie, Rogue One, and so that also helped him a lot, having a relationship with Industrial Light and Magic. So kind of had a shorthand on that deal. So I'm going to keep moving forward on some of this because there's some phenomenal stuff coming here. Yeah, so this is one of my favorite shots, actually, and okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you guys, anybody have any thoughts on how they cut the hole in his head?
as far as the layer wise, or would that
Yeah,
be different?
just think it through from the perspective of like how that works.
Oh yeah, I can see how they had it, like far as it's like several layers that go along with it. Like they actually got the real person there, and then they just layer from the space from his cheekbone kind of on back.
So his whole okay, so this kind of goes back to our previous discussion about well, even when we look at Wonder Studio, right? And when we were talking about how they do a lot of the stuff on Planet of the Apes, right? So they need the actors to be able to be out in the world doing their thing and to be able to get motion tracking on it. So he's turning his head and whatnot, and their motion tracking can figure out what his head movement is, which allows them to essentially take 3D objects, that are built and tracked to his body, and then they've got like all these different areas. Now the fact of the matter is that whenever you put in, whenever you remove something from a character, you have to replace what is behind them, right? So for example, all of this stuff right here, the hole through the head, obviously, before all of that's there, it's just his head and it's his neck. And so, you've kind of seen along the way all of these different layers that have been dropping in. Well, they painted in these mountains in the background. So they have the mountains. So that's there for being able to cut through them. And, they've gone back and repainted in all of the plants. And when I say painted in, they probably went in and grabbed a section from right here or a section from right here and just, kind of painted it in behind him so that they would have something to show through when doing the layers. So does that kind of make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, and again, kind of speaking to the world in which they live, I actually really like dig this tank on his back because it looks all dirty. It's had leaks, and it feels like it is part of somebody's everyday piece of useful equipment, and that just lends to the credibility of certain things. So um, I'm going to keep moving forward with this. So that's, obviously that's the removal. And and those are all the paint out layers. If you saw that right here. So he's got the hole in him now. When they're literally showing the patches that that are necessary. So these are all the patches that have to go where he isn't, or where he's covered over. So this is all stuff that's supposed to be behind him. Um and it works pretty well. I mean, you know, now again, this is one of those situations that, when you're the visual effects supervisor on set, you got to make sure that you're shooting all the stuff. You need to know exactly what the shot is and that you're going through and you're making sure like, okay, I need a background. I need the clean plate of the background. Because if you lose it, then you've just if you like it happens, like you forget to shoot something, you've just given your artist a lot more work to do. So
And the actor had to be in co-sync with it too, as well, as he was
yeah,
like kind of looking down at it.
absolutely. And that this forces actors to pretend a lot more, which that's what they get paid to do. I mean, let's be honest. They get paid to be somebody else. But the more and more we've gotten into a green screen and virtual everything kind of world, it does become more challenging to do that. So same with this one. Give me 1 second. I gotta look at something real quick. Um, all right. Good morning, everybody. I'm just making sure this thing is running right.
Good morning.
No, that was me. All right. Just go back to that one real quick. These are standard paintouts, and then, tracking on the, tracking here on the phone or whatever this thing is actually supposed to be. So now this is a fun shot, actually. Really, actually, a very fun shot. So, you had and I know that this was the plan, but like, let's go back and see this. So, not quite there. All right, let's try this again. So it's obviously they've got actual actors in there, and so there they are. So actual actors, right? And then they go in and they want to retain certain things here on their bodies, but they've got to paint their heads off now. And again, this does, I would love to ask the director this question, if they had a change in thinking on it, because all of these actors are wearing, like, very, very specific, costuming, right? It's, they've got the logo on the helmet. These helmets are not cheap, and then I don't know if there was a decision to turn them all into robots, or if there was some change in certain things. But so they go in and paint their heads off, and then they essentially add certain things in. This is one of my favorite shots here. So just look at how much gets replaced. I'm going to go back and watch that one again, because there's a lot of really good stuff in there, and I want you guys to just catch all of that.
That's crazy how they layered it.
I mean, all of it's replaced, because this is where they're actually standing, right? And so, a lot of this, and by the way, this is some hardcore roto work that got done to leave this, leave the these things here, and then to leave some of the plants and things like that, so that they could put things behind it. Come on. A lot of dust and additions that they made to.
That foliage tool is crazy that they be using.
What's that?
The foliage tool, what they use to cover the mountains with and stuff, is crazy.
They may have actually, and like, they may actually have just gone to, like, Vietnam or Thailand, and actually just gone and shot mountains for it. That feels pretty real to me. Now, at the same time, they may have just built some stuff in in a foliage generator and done that. So it's hard to know really exactly what they did, but in days gone by, you certainly would have gone and either gone and shot photographs for the layers that you need to put in there, if you weren't doing it in the computer. But okay, come on. This is a great shot. All of that's generated in the computer. So yeah, so this is a great. This is what we would call matte paintings, essentially. I mean, that traditionally is what it was. If you had a building that you needed, you would hire a quote unquote matte painter, and they would go and they would paint it up and do the thing that you needed them to do, and you would take that element and you would composite it in there. Now, a lot of this is done digitally now. So, but look at all the elements that they use to make this thing go. I'm gonna go back to that one.
That's crazy, man.
This one, okay, so that this is these reminded me very much of there were some ones that James Cameron did on Avatar, and particularly on this both of them actually, the first and the second one. These huge tracked, and when I on vehicles on tracks that were like driving through the environment, and I these felt very similar to me in that, but they add so much to the scene, and and again, you can't incorporate them unless you've got all this dust and layers to get behind, so that you can really see the scale of how large they are coming through this area.
The one thing the director did say, he said it was cheaper to fly people to the location versus actually building sets.
What do you mean fly people to locations?
Like you said,
Oh,
go to Indonesia or somewhere
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah.
They would actually just fly there versus actually building a set that would cost
Like
much more.
let's go find a location and just shoot it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of value in that actually. And they've really made the most of these scenes that they've done. And it makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, look at all the additions that they put in here. Now, you guys, like as per our conversation about Godzilla minus one, I really, really thought this one would win for all of these reasons. For you can see how much has been done. Like, I mean, I would say, and again, I take nothing away from the crew on Godzilla. They did phenomenal work. I just felt like this one did way more. But again, it's not about volume. So much of like what you do and the success of things is about the story that you're telling about what you did. And so I think they were a little bit stronger on storytelling for their experience. But I mean, it takes nothing away from the work on either one of these movies actually. So
Yeah, that right there is crazy.
yeah. And this is a great shot, just to show, like, it's such a great breakdown to just show just a few layers that are in here composite wise that can make a really nice looking shot. So look at it. It's a sky, then it's the moon, then it's the ship, and then it's the I guess these are missile trails, and then it's some foreground clouds, and so it's probably like 7 or 8 layers, and you've got something working. Um,
Yeah, this whole sequence was crazy right here.
mhm. That is just honestly some amazing work. Yeah, and this okay, this whole sequence in the end of the movie where they're blowing up the ship is
That was
ridiculously impressive. I don't care who you are. That's good work right there. And again, they're going to show you exactly what they did. Now, I will tell you this, you guys. There is somebody I mean, there's probably 10 people that worked on this shot. Somebody who had to build the model, obviously somebody who had to design it, right? What do these ships look like? Somebody who built the models, or a team of people that built the models, and then you've got an effects team that goes in and they're just doing destruction, right? So like they're doing fire, they're doing all of the broken bits and pieces that are coming off, and it all it's all kind of an assembly line. right? So you can't, obviously you can't do anything until you have a design, and then you can't, do anything after that till you have at least some temp setup of what the ship's going to look like, and then it all has to fall in place in a uh, particular manner. But I mean, there is a lot, and I'm just going to say too, even when you I'm sorry, even when you look at this explosion, there's design to this explosion. This, they didn't just pump this out. It's like it almost looks like it's spherical in a sense, where you've got some sort of
I'll think the same thing because he made it with and like and ball. There's the ball. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and that's a master class on how to pull it off.
And then yeah, that right there, man, is oh man.
And this is a huge sequence.
Because of how massive it is.
Yeah, and just look at all that's going on. And again, it's funny because when you, oh God, that's amazing. But when you look at this whole thing that we do when we're talking about the Academy Awards, or what is best visual effects, how do you, when you're talking about art, right, how do you really talk about who was the best, if that makes any sense? Because that's art, it's all subjective,
Yep.
right? And so I can certainly have a preference, and I can also look at somebody else's and go, man, that is amazing work too, and too bad we can't have two winners, but it doesn't work that way. And but this is, I mean, there's probably 100 different layers going on in here at least. Can't tell if he's happy or sad, but there you go. So that is the Industrial Light and Magic demo reel for the creator. Um, does that make sense? Did you guys learn something on that?
Oh yeah, it was just so mind blowing. There was so much going on. Every time I looked at a scene, it was. I watched it 4 times this past weekend.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And then when this is what I've been talking about for a while, right? I want you guys to be able to identify what you're looking at. So when you see a shot, you need to be able to start to visually break it down, at least into its core components. Like, I would never expect you to oh yeah, I can see that dust layer here and there. You're never going to see that because it's all intended to be viewed as one shot. But you should be able to look at stuff and go, okay, I see the foreground stuff. I see all the spaceships or the things that are going on, and be able to break them down almost like when we talk about language, right? If you can look at, like a spelling bee, and you see how people are breaking down words into their root components, like, where did it come from? What culture does this word come from? Is it French? Is it Germanic? Is it English? Right? And to be able to kind of just go through and break down what you're seeing, that's where the skill really starts to increase, and it starts to add to your ability to be who you are as a visual effects artist. Because if you can look at somebody else's work and go, okay, hold on, all right, I see what they're doing here, then that starts to get into the problem solving part of your mind and or the strategic part of your mind where you're going, okay, the next time I do something, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. So, um, and that just takes time, right? That's just a, one of those things that is a function of, if you really, really want to be, a visual effects or artist or an animator, you're going to put in roughly 5,000 hours before you're really like to that level of mastering things. And so that's what it takes all the time. So um anyway, anybody else got any thoughts, comments, anything that stood out to them or anything that you want me to go back and take a look at?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, like that one shot when it was on that boat and when they shot the missiles at him and then it made the explosion with the trail and it made the explosion onto the boat. That
Let
was
me
awesome.
see. Yeah, that was
Can you
go ahead. Yeah.
can you share the link with us one more time, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Hang on one sec here. All right, I just put it in the chat there. So um yeah, to let's see, I'm trying to find I think this is the shot here. No, that's not it. Yeah, it's right here. There you go. Yeah, it's that's a really, really impressive shot. So anyway, um, so does this stuff make sense? Do you guys like this? Like talking about or seeing other people's work? Is that helpful to you?
Oh yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the breakdown and just to see like how much work actually went into like the certain shots was
Right. And I really do. I genuinely believe that like when you look at the end of a movie and you see all the names scrolling, it's a huge like testament to like literally how many people it takes to actually pull something like this off. It is a massive kind of an event where people are just all coming together to do stuff. So anyway, yeah, there's hundreds of thousands of hours of work in there, and they did it really well. So
yeah,
all right,
his budget was awesome. What he did with the budget was awesome.
yeah. I mean that's and you really do see, and I love movies like this because it really does uh make people that are making $300 million movies have to justify where all that money went when you can pull something like this off. And yeah, when the visual effects budget is way less. So